It says it's live, but I don't have the link yet. And I got to do the YouTube link.
As soon as that says live, Phil, it's live.
Yeah, but I still have to wait for the redirect there. It redirected to YouTube, and then it's going to repeat our voices here until I click pause. Pause. Okay. And pasting it into brand YouTube and fetch video. Google API key is required. What? Ah, new rules now.
Oh, really?
Come on. It won't let me save the. Oh, darn it. Okay. Darn. Shall I turn off live and then come back?
If it's going to be any hassle.
I can't do this right now. There's no time. So we're live on YouTube. You ready?
Yep.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Phil.
And this is another fabulous episode of the Phil and Phil Show live from Arizona
and Oxfordshire in the UK.
Whoa, 5,000 miles apart, instantaneous communication, reflecting the instantaneous communication that we have all the time. So
yeah, that is quite amazing, really, isn't it, when you think about that?
Yeah.
And it's all run on crystals.
Yep.
All run on hippie fluffy stuff, crystals.
Yep.
Without the crystals, no communicado, zero. Phil, let's do a spray so we can get our acts together, right? You ready?
I like to dip my face in cold water again on the show.
This is Air Dragon from the Coloured Mirror system. Oh, look, it's frozen inside. Look, a statue.
I seriously feel that. It feels like a gentle wind. Like, seriously, I feel a gentle wind coming through the screen. It hits my body and then absorbs. It's really strange.
Well, it's better than conspiracy theory, eh?
Yeah.
I know. Isn't it amazing?
Well, we're conspiring to help each other grow. So this is a conspiracy. Everything's a conspiracy.
Everything's a conspiracy. So, but isn't it amazing how that actually works?
I don't know how it works.
You know, I've done quite a lot of that kind of work now, EFT and you know, talk stuff and all sorts of stuff over Zoom. It works. It's not as nice as being actually present with each other, but it's the second best thing. And it's amazing how it works. But that's when you start to get into quantum physics, isn't it? And everything's right now. There's no such thing as far away. There's actually a book written by Richard Bart that wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. He wrote a book called "There's No Such Place as Far Away." And when I went off traveling, when I went to New Zealand and Australia, I gave my niece and nephew this little book called "There's No Such Place as Far Away" so they could read it.
Aww.
You know, and it just says everything's right now, right here, right now. Everything is just happening simultaneously. Mm-hmm. There's no past, present, future. It's all now.
So where are our fields right now? I mean, they're not on the screen. This is a screen here. Like, our energy is going through this camera. Is it? Or is it our energy? Because you feel me and I feel that energy. Where is it going? Is it going in this instant?
But that's because on quantum level there is no distance. There's no
it's
time.
Impossible it's impossible to really think about it or even comprehend it on the physical level or in your mind.
Yeah, it's just Well, it's because it's been schooled out of us into being woo-woo nonsense. So,
Right.
all this stuff is woo-woo nonsense. Actually, the quantum physicists know about this stuff.
Mhm.
The guys at Apple and whoever the other one is, they know this stuff. They know this stuff because
Right.
they're giving us equipment that allows us to communicate
Mhm.
thousands of miles apart instantaneously. And how many people can you get on Zoom? I have no idea, like hundreds. So
Well, Tony Robbins is connected with Zoom, and he's had he'll do a weekend or 3 days with like 20,000 people, and they're all like broken out into rooms, and he has this big screen, and you can see them all at once, and like it's crazy.
and that's personal transformation work, right? And it works. I got a friend in the village, and he does Bowen therapy,
Mhm.
which in real life, it's hands-on, very, very subtle, gentle movements on the body to release tension in the muscles, right? And he's not a surveyor. He's I think he's a civil engineer. So very, very intelligent, knowledgeable guy. And someone was telling him once that he could do this stuff on Zoom and he could do it remotely. And he's like, "Pfft." So he did a remote session for someone. I think he did it for free. I'm not sure, but just because he didn't believe it. And the result that he got, he said, was as good as you would get in person.
Wow.
And I think if I remember rightly, the person was in Brazil and he was in Oxfordshire. And he gave them a so-called physical treatment.
Mhm.
So he said what he did was he set up the couch
Mhm.
and laid this imagine this person laying on the couch. He's done several such sessions and they've worked as well. Okay, so Charlie knows who I'm talking about. So he sets up the room and the couch as if he's doing a session. He energetically, imagines this person on the couch, and then he puts his hands over their body exactly the same as he would in the physical plane, and he has healing reactions happen in Brazil and all over the world. And
Right.
he was just like, Phil, you know, in his mind, bless him, it just didn't work. But the reality is, it did work.
Right. It was hard to compute
Yeah,
because we're taught so much that everything has to be physical. Even like with what we're doing with raw food, it's like, oh, we need to eat these superfoods and drink these drinks, and it's like, well, yes, that's good, but then even as you get more and more subtle, it's like, it's just, you can just sit. I was actually meditating this morning on my porch, just listening to the birds, and it was like changing my consciousness. I was just the birds were just really beautiful this morning. It was just like that energy was just changing my consciousness. I wasn't consuming anything, but it was like change, and I felt better. I felt energized by just that.
yeah. There's a guy called Dr. Sebi. He was an African doctor,
Mhm.
and he was big into electric. He's like, forget nutrition.
Mhm.
It's not Nutrition isn't where it's at. Electricity and electrical interactions is where it's at. So he was all about the electricity. Water's amazing because it conducts electricity, right? It connects the circuits in the body. So he was really into water to connect the circuits. And live food, actually, Phil, if you really think about it, when we talk about the energetics of food, we're talking about life. We're talking about life force. We're talking about, and that actually in food is electricity, right?
I mean, that's why one of the most important things is just to get hydrated, because as the body's more hydrated, then it becomes more of a superconductor to the energy.
What's that machine that you use at work to test the resonance of the foods and supplements?
We have it. I don't know if I have. I don't know. I think you've asked me that before. I don't really know what you're talking about.
Oh, I thought that we're just having a little moment, by the way. I thought you had a machine that could test like the quality or the vibration or something of the product.
There are people that can do that. You can do that with muscle testing, but I don't really
Oh
have a
no, I thought I
machine.
thought you I thought you had a specific machine that you did it with, but clearly not.
No.
Oh,
But there are things you can send things out for like biophoton analysis and Kirlian photography on different foods. But then people can energetically test. I mean, we can all muscle test. We all know, like, so when you go into a store, you can test yourself. And in the emotion code, which I have you heard of the emotion code with Bradley Nelson?
Yeah, not with him, but I have had emotion code. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked up one of his magnets the other day just for fun. Like you do.
As you do. Well, as we do anyway.
Well, and he has I can't do the hand muscle testing for whatever reason. It's probably in my head. Whatever. I'm really not good at it. But he has this thing where you stand up and yes is forward and no is backwards. And it works really well for me. Like my body, that I don't know what it is, but that muscle testing works really well. So he does this thing where you go through all these different emotions and you see, is this, and it tunes in, and then you just rub a magnet over your head. It's just one of those like soft magnets. You run it over your head and it just resets the system. It's really powerful. You kind of do it for just 5 minutes a day, and it starts to like just clear the energy. But that is like, our body will tell us, and the more in tune we get, we kind of talk more about this. It's like, is this food really good for me? It's like, let me just tune into this, and it will tell us. Like, you can pick it up and you can feel it and go, you know what? No, I'm going to put this back right now. So
not today.
Yeah.
But
hey,
of course,
sometimes, yeah, go ahead.
I was just about to say, and of course, that could just be the time of day. One of the mistakes people make with that level of muscle testing is they say, oh, they do it once and it's not, it comes up as not good for them, but they don't ask, is it because of the time of day? Is it because of today? Is it what's happened? All they say is, oh no, I can't eat that. I've muscle tested. And it's like, but have you tested if you can't eat it full stop? Have you tested for the day that you can eat it? Have you tested how many times? There's just, once again, there's so much, because you can refine it down so much.
Well, I mean, there could be a distorted field around that food. So you might want to just like bless it for a second, like clear any negative energies. Right? It's just like kind of crazy, but clear any negative energies from it just to see. It's like, oh, see where it's at. It may just be the food's having a bad day.
Well, it all. We talked about it. Actually, Samado's coming on in a few minutes. We talked to Samado about the food, didn't we? Do you remember in the restaurants? And actually, he said that people would get sick in some of them Michelin 5-star restaurants and think it was food poisoning, but it wasn't food poisoning. It was the energetics going on in the kitchen.
Right.
And I've seen people in our local supermarkets. They throw the vegetables on the shelves. They haven't got time. They haven't got, well, I'm presuming, this is a presumption. It looks to me like they haven't got time or they don't care. I don't know. I'm not saying which one it is. They throw the food on, and when I do the organic veg orders that I do, I'm going to do one tonight after the show, actually, when it comes in. When those veggies come in, our front porch is humming. The energy off of those foods is just, wow. And every time I get a delivery, I just, I have to tune into it. I can't just blast in, otherwise I miss it. But as soon as I'm kind of tuned in, it's like, oh yeah, okay, this is why I do it. This is why I get this food. This is why I eat this food. This is why I sell this food and share it with people. Because, energetically, which you're talking about, energetically can be the electrical force of it all is far superior. So actually, Phil, I think that's really worth paying attention to, regarding blessing the food. Actually giving it a little bit of attention just for a few minutes, because it might just be that food picked up a low vibration somewhere along the line. Yeah. So it could just be that energetically you've got to spend a bit of time with it and cleanse it. And actually, I think that's.
Yeah, and if it's a healthy food, I mean, obviously, when it's like, this is junk and I'm not going to spend my energy on this processed food and try and raise this energy, while you could, is that it's not worth it. It's like, so yeah, but blessing your food. And my friend like runs a laser across things. I know Gabriel Cousins, he always blesses his food. He like sits for a moment, closes his eyes just for a second. It's not even much. It's like 20 seconds of just like holding the energy, bless the food, and then you eat your food. Because that also brings you into that present moment too, as you're blessing it.
And I think that's a really great thing to remind ourselves and each other, is actually that moment. Because we all get
Yeah.
up in the morning, we're in a rush, we sit down wherever, you know. I sit in my van. Today I sat outside on an upturned bucket in the sun to have my lunch,
Mm.
which was a smoothie. Um, and you know, and without realizing it, I sat with my smoothie for a few seconds. I didn't, you know, I didn't consciously bless it, but you know, sometimes I do that. And you know, and I know before, there was a story back in about 2000. I learned a story where there was a guy, there was an American outer called Grandfather. He was an Apache scout, and you know, he would have been off for doing like a vision quest for days, no food, no water, no nothing, and he'd come back to the river. The first thing he would do was he'd scoop up the water and he'd offer it up to Father Sky and Mother Earth before he drank from it. And, you know, that's kind of the same thing as blessing it, right? It's that
Right.
intention. And I used to think, how do you know, how can he do that? He hasn't had anything for days, or you know, hours,
Right.
days, whatever it's been. How on earth has he got the discipline to stand there and do that? Because
Right. And
he's
we're just like, we're hungry for like a couple hours and like, oh, I got, and like, we don't, like I
yeah.
said, we're going to remind each other because we run and grab a banana or whatever. It's like, just
Yeah.
took a minute, but yeah, how do you do that? Practice, I suppose.
You know, and now, because I've done more fasting, and because my diet's so radically different than 20 years ago, I get it, right? If I dry fast for 24, 36 hours, I'm actually not gagging now for that
Mhm.
water. It's really interesting. I've now got to that point where I can stop and think about it, because that's actually what it's about, is thinking about it. We have to just think about. There was an old guy, he was a cabinet maker, brilliant cabinet maker joiner. He used to teach in one of the prestigious schools in Oxford, and he had a saying, and he used to always say to me, think about it, Philip, think about it. And actually, you know, that was 20 years ago, and it still sticks in my mind, that think about it. And you know, that's with all what's going on in the world, you know, whether you're having a smoothie, whether you're having a grape, whether you're having a big dinner, whatever you're doing, just think about it.
So, but I'm going to ask you a question here about think about it. Are you actually thinking about it, or are you like kind of surrendering it to the field? Because sometimes when we think about it, are we going, oh, let me just figure this out? What? No, it's kind of a surrendering, I think. But
And
it's true. But it's true. It is thinking, but not in the mind, not in the head. It's
yeah,
like you're kind of tapping into that, like you're
well,
surrendering, I think.
yeah, once we've gone from that physical, that's a great thing, Phil. Once we've gone from that physical thing of the mind to think about it, and you know, then we say, oh well, let's just stop and think about art. You know, we don't think about it, we allow it, we feel it, we stop for a minute. You know, there's all these things that, so the physical thing is think about it. But actually, you know, one of the things that he was saying to me was stop. And there's another lovely guy called Neil Watson, and he was an amazing surgeon and artist and pilot and all sorts of things. And his thing was, he said, Phil, when I die, I want slow down put on my graveyard, on my gravestone. And he was this great big bloke, and he used to go, slow down. Lovely man. You know, so it's the same kind of thing, right? But he'd done the shamanic work. He'd done, you know, initiations and stuff. He'd come from a very kind of what he would call a pompous, arrogant background to someone that had surrendered to God.
Mhm.
And I think my old mate that was the joiner, cabinet maker, that's kind of what he was talking about, but he just used different words, and he was saying, think about it. So it's just that, take a minute, step back, and stop what you're doing just to allow a second. And on that, I'm going to welcome our great guest, a lovely man. Samado has become a really good friend of mine and Phil's, and we're really honoured once again to have the great Samado on our show. Welcome, brother.
What an intro. Nice to see you both. Hi, Phil. Hi,
Thanks,
Phil.
Mardo. How you
Good
doing?
to be back. Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. How are things going with you?
Yeah.
Does that say love on your wall behind you?
Yeah,
Ah, beautiful. I love it.
there we go.
Thank you.
I thought I'd sit under some love with you guys tonight.
So I've just been reminded by our
Yeah.
regular hardcore viewer. He's saying,
Tim, our
yeah,
friend
Tim.
Tim on YouTube.
Taya, he's saying, good evening, brothers. What a ruddy, lovely day to be alive and to be grounded by taking time in the sun and watering the plants. He just writes, I just spent a lovely moment. Blinds. Oh, he's hilarious. I just spent a lovely moment blind seasoning my chicken. But the chicken would be blind, wouldn't it, if you season it? Got my herbs and spices ready, but blindfolded myself and felt them and smelt them before adding it. Have you ever seen the show Naked and Afraid? Genuinely love the idea of having nothing and thriving from what Gaia provides. Well, Tim, I'm glad to know that you're paying attention, brother. That's fantastic. Right, back to Samado. Right, Samado, welcome. How are you today?
Yeah, good. Good, thank you. Yeah, I've also been outside. I've been in nature this afternoon. So I've been listening to the birds and planting some bulbs and just in the fresh air and sunshine here in the UK as well today. It's been glorious.
After yesterday, I mean, yesterday was brutal.
Oh.
Today, I decided it was any nice. It was any nice day we've had for about since Thursday, Wednesday, and we haven't got another nice day. So I decided to go up onto a chimney. I've been rebuilding 2 chimneys today,
Wow.
but you know, it's like what? It's perfect. It's just to be up that high, right up. I was up about 30 feet in the air on scaffolding. But what can you do really? The birds are right up there with me. The bees are there. Do you know what I mean? What can you do really that's better than that? I'm getting paid to hang out in nature, right?
Yeah, how cool.
How
what a
cool.
gift. What a gift.
Up on a chimney sending your prayers to heaven, eh?
Yeah, right up there, brother.
Smoke to heaven.
So, wow. One of the things I think I mentioned to you the other day, Samado, was weeks ago. Someone said about maybe you should structure your shows, Phil, and we were like, we just do what we're doing. So I thought, as you were coming on, and we had threatened this in the past, maybe we could talk about our favorite foods, our favorite recipes, our favorite dishes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's just play with that and see where it takes us. What do you reckon?
I'm up for that.
What do you reckon, Phil?
Okay. Sounds great.
Right, Samado, you're going to be right on the hot seat, brother. What is your?
If you're ready.
If
you're not ready, fire round. 1, 2, 3, go.
If you're not ready, you're there anyway, right?
Right, straight out the block.
No, go on. So let's touch base with you, Samado. Let's
right.
So what's going on in your world?
Oh, what's going on in my world is that I just I'm in the middle of this kind of immersive program that I've been offering online. So it's called Vibrantly Alive, which is a 6-week course of conscious plant-based nutrition and breath work.
Oh wow.
So yesterday we touched into week 3 with a really potent breathwork session, which I was still just kind of resting into today while I was in the garden, funnily enough. And that is a beautiful experience with 30 other people who've joined up, who want to, you know, dive into something that's going to make them feel more positive and aligned, and create this sense of community. So that's what's been going on in my world. And, you know, the process has brought me quite often back into food memories, you know, food memories in the kitchens when I was training, or the gardens where I was seeing the food growing, some of the things I've been lucky to experience with lots of traveling. So I've been very inner, to be honest, as an answer. And it's beautiful. Yeah, it's been really, really good. And, you know, if I kind of stick to topic, which is the food and the recipe, you know, some things shifting at the moment with the work in terms of there's really a resonance now. Like we're having this conversation and the foods that I'm eating at the moment and some of the things that I'm adding into the food are really supporting. And yeah, it feels good. It does feel good at the moment. And I'm enjoying it. And so, you know, just as an example, somebody asked if I would talk about macrobiotics in a radio show. And then once you finish that, can you talk about raw vegan? Because both of those things were part of your journey. I was like, wow, that's such a gift. Now I can kind of go back to the beginning, you know. So food wise, yeah, I'm focusing on mostly raw vegan recipes in the training I'm doing.
Wow.
And I think the thing is that for us, we probably take some of the things for granted.
I'm sure we do.
You know, that we kind of do automatically, and yet some of those techniques are massive game changers for people's health.
Yeah.
And you know, Phil, being in the Tree of Life for so long, you know, having that kind of foundation, you come out of there and then you're back in your own home kitchen and it just becomes part of your lifestyle. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't really think too much, you just do it. And that's one of the gifts that I'm kind of experiencing at the moment around the food. So yeah.
Actually, Samado, to add to that,
Yeah.
I think one of the things for most of us really is, you know, I spent 13 weeks at the Tree of Life in the kitchen, and I was in the kitchen every shift I could get in. I did my shift and I helped on other people's shifts because I loved it. But it was when I left the kitchen, it felt like I knew nothing at all. You know, I got let out, and I came back to normal life. And someone said, "How do you make sense?" And it's just like, I have no idea. What do you mean you don't know? What have you just been doing? It's like, well, I've just been working in the kitchen for 13 weeks doing, you know, 7 shifts a week. And I couldn't make a thing. It was really interesting. And then because I clearly hadn't grounded it, and I had to have recipes and, you know, all this, that, and the other. And then eventually what I'd done, I must have grounded it out because all of a sudden, you know, all this information came and I could kind of go, oh, I can actually make nearly anything. But when I first popped out the kitchen, I literally was brain dead and I couldn't do it. It was really interesting how I just couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it took me, but I think it was probably so much information, you know, and making so many recipes over such a short length of time. But anyway, what I was going to say was what people think is, you know, they're going to do a class with you or me or Phil, and they're going to be like super chefs.
Yeah.
And actually, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just spend an hour with you on a Zoom call and then expect to be able to go home to the kitchen and make this thing, because actually it's a real art form and it's a real skill, isn't it? And I think you running a 6-week course is brilliant because that, you know, people are going to come and learn a recipe. Then I'm presuming they've got the week to practice or do whatever they want, and then they learn another recipe. Yeah. I mean, that's a great idea, Samado.
Thank you. Well, it was actually a lady that I met in Glastonbury, and she's a qualified breath worker and she's fabulous. You know, she's really, really good.
Oh, wow.
And we were introduced through different people, like the names were mentioned. And then when we did actually meet online, just the energy was just feeling really very good. It just flowed, you know, the communication flowed and there's an ease with it. Yeah, and it's really nice to work in that way. So I think, you know, bringing that energy into the training that we're doing, also because, you know, at the moment now everybody's in home or
Yeah.
in their houses more than any other time. And the great thing about this is because, yeah, you can go off and do a training, but you're leaving your home, you're leaving your kind of environment,
Yes.
which is fabulous to get a different perspective. But then also, if you have a crash course somewhere else, you've then got to bring that home and implement that into your daily life. Whereas this on the course, yeah, we do the sessions on Saturday, and then they can, you know, they've got a week before the next session. It's like there's a slow integration
Yes.
rather than boom. There's,
Yeah.
you know, truckloads of new techniques and recipes and things, ingredients. People can't get their head around it.
So how long does the class last for then? How long is your sessions?
On Saturdays, they're 4 hours.
Oh, good. So it's
Yeah.
a real nice length of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a group set up on Facebook, so everybody can interact on there, show their recipes, ask for some tips, you know, just have a check-in. And then Thursday nights we have a check-in call as well, so you can catch up with the rest of the group or find out anything that you need to move forward. And it's nice because it's like slow, gradual movement, because yeah, just one of these things or two of these things can really shift things for people, you know.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah,
I saw your advert for it actually.
I did it.
Yeah, I saw your flyer pop up on my Insta. It must have been Instagram because we don't have Facebook, do we, Phil?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bye.
You don't realise how inconvenient it is in some ways not having Facebook, because you know lots of
How
things,
convenient it is, or
how inconvenient it is not having it, or how
Yeah.
convenient it is having it.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how convenient it was while I had it, but since I haven't had it, I've really seen how inconvenient it is.
Yeah.
Because so many things, you know, I was doing a business, I was doing an emotional business course,
Right.
but it's all on Facebook. So, you know, you can have live membership for all you like. But if you haven't got Facebook, you've got no live membership left.
Oh no.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It is interesting. You know, we're so dependent on those platforms. Well, until they come away, you realise how much time also.
It's changing. People are getting off them now and doing their own, building their own, because we can't be so dependent on them. We gotta build our own communities.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy that I'm not on it anymore. So I feel like I've got kicked out of the matrix. It's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. It's a badge of honor. And somebody had shared that they were kicked off and then they went back on. And this woman described it as being what she felt energetically is that it was putting her persona or her work into a box. And she felt like really contracted whenever she went back onto Facebook. And then there's other platforms she's been on and there was like a fluidity to it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm seeing it too. People wanting to get off that platform and actually set up, you know, communities, like real living, you know, let's do this. Let's get X, Y, or Z.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we are being pushed in that direct, because, you know, when you get a shove like we've had over the last year, people either go along with it or they feel cornered and pushed and made to do something. Whereas if this stuff hadn't have happened, of course, most of us would just carry on. We just bumble along the same. You know, I was saying to a friend of mine, because she was saying to me about, what's it going to take to wake everybody up? And I said, the question is, what's it going to take to actually wake me up? Because yes, on a level, I'm wide awake, but on another level, man, I know I'm fast asleep, right?
Same. Yeah.
So instead of saying what's it going to take, because I don't actually want to know the answer to that. So the answer is, I suppose the statement is, wouldn't it be lovely to experience what it's like to be wide awake? Because the other one, you might get a real big shock, right? So yes, I wonder what it would be like to be wide awake. And of course, how do we know?
That is it.
So Samado, favorite food?
Favorite food? Well, at the moment, I'm big into the cashew cheese.
Okay.
So I've been doing quite a bit of fermented cashew cheese. I've been making some nice kombuchas, lots of microgreens and salads at the moment, lots of juicing. Alfonso mangoes, I had the first of the season last week.
Where are you getting those from?
Oh, good God, they were incredible.
They're Spanish, aren't they?
No, the proper ones from India.
Oh, wow. Where'd you get those from?
Oh, yeah. So there's online Indian retailers.
Okay, I've got to write this down. Excuse me, guys. I'm just going to write this down now. So,
Mangoes. Okay, stop everything.
yeah. Stop the show. Stop the show. We're getting a mango contact now.
Yeah, because the thing is, I don't really eat them in the UK. And when I was living in India, I actually lived on a mango farm. And at the end of the day, they used to put the mangoes in the room when they cleaned the rooms. And all you could smell in the room was mango. It was just heavenly. And these mangoes, when you peeled them, when you took the skin off, all the juice would run down your chin, you know, really messy, but they're bright orange. And so whenever I pick one up in a supermarket in the UK, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. That's a different fruit you're trying to sell, you know. But these Indian ones, you know, you can go mad on them until I think around.
I know. So they're called Alfonso mangoes.
Yeah.
And they're from India.
They're from India. ALPHON.
Hang on.
So
ALPHON.
S.
Oh, that's the variety.
That's the variety.
Alphonse. And where in the UK can we find them?
You can find them on Red Rickshaw.
Red Rickshaw.
Yeah, just go. Yeah, just DuckDuckGo or use whatever search engine. To find Red Rickshaw. That's the name. That's the website, and they've got those. There's another variety. Oh yeah, there's two other varieties on there as well. Kesa, Kesra, Kesa, and I think the other one's Badmi.
Badmi.
Yeah, Badmi. Whoa, look at those. And oh my God, they are so, you pick them up and they smell so fragrant.
They're like the little Pakistani ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just like the Pakistani ones.
It's so good.
Did you find that, Phil?
Yeah, I just found an image.
Oh, but I love him.
Love it.
I love him when he sits there quietly and comes up with the goods, man.
That's a cool one. Loving that. So yeah.
So a thing with mangoes is, right, you can actually detoxify your body completely. You can strip all of the toxins down and rebuild your body on mangoes.
Really?
Yes.
What's that? Why?
Because they're an astringent fruit. So actually, when you eat mangoes, the astringency of the mango pulls on the lymphatic stagnation, and it actually gets the lymph to move, and it pulls all of the debris that's in the intestinal tract. It pulls all of that debris out, all of that compacted stuff around the intestinal tract. It pulls it all out and out through the bowel.
Wow.
Mangoes.
Wow.
So I'll tell you a little story now you shared that with me.
That's impressive, yeah.
Years ago, when I used to do I used to have out of body experiences and do astral travel and stuff like that. I was lying in bed one night, and all of a sudden I could feel, I don't know if you guys have ever had this, I could feel like my body was getting pressed down through the bed. Yeah. And it felt like I was kind of on the floor, and then all of a sudden my body just lifted out, and I was taken by a different species, and they said that they were taking me back to my home planet. And I went through a Stargate. This was about 2008 or 9. I went through a Stargate, right? I've never spoken publicly about this, by the way. And they took me back to my home planet, where the beings on this planet were androgynous. And I was told that if I wanted to heal my body, I had to eat mangoes. Get that?
Wow.
Wow.
And now I've learned.
Pretty darn clear.
Isn't it? So how gutting is that when you're living in England, right? And the mangoes are crap. So that's been like 13 years. I went to Thailand, Man, I went,
Yeah, I
I
bet you
went
did.
twice, and I lived on mangoes both times I went, because it's like,
Yeah.
this is the food that I need to heal. So, but in England, like you're
Yeah.
saying, you know, you buy mangoes from our supermarkets, and it's hit and miss. Number one, if they're going to ripen before they rot,
Yeah.
and I should think every 10 you get a good one. Wow,
Yeah.
a reasonable one.
I stopped buying them. I even did buy some variety of mango, I think about 2 months ago, and they were quite small, and they actually had like that kidney shape, you
Yeah.
know. And I thought, okay, I'll give those a try. And they were rubbish. They don't ripen properly.
No, they're picked too early.
Yeah.
Best ones I got when I was in Manchester, I don't know, 20 years ago. I went to the Indian markets and just buy a case of them, and they were really good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can do that
true.
anymore, but yeah.
Well, that's how they sell them now, through that website, Phil.
Oh, okay, yeah. I would buy cases at a time. So
Yeah.
I was on the whole mono fruit thing, and it's like cases and cases of Sharon fruit or persimmons and cases of mangoes, and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, I hijacked that little chat there a little bit, but that was fun.
That was good though. It's amazing what cashew cheese can do for you.
Isn't it?
Well, I think everyone should do a mango experience or a mono fruit experience, because it really gets you
Hey,
present.
I'll tell you what, I think we should get together one time and arrange to do a mango session.
Yeah.
What we ought to do is get a link and say, hey, look, we're doing this on this day, and you can buy your mangoes from this place. Come and hang out, and we'll do a mango. Or what would be even better, Bernardo, is in person.
Yeah.
Do a mango thing in person. That'd just be fun, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
What do you do for fun? We just hang out and eat mangoes.
Phil, I just want to remind you something, Mike. Most people hang out and drink alcohol.
Really? Wow, that's
What's
crazy.
the difference between hanging out and drinking some moldy old fermented grapes and drink and eat it and experiencing fresh
A huge
mangoes, right?
difference. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. A huge difference. But you
Yeah,
hear
but
what I'm saying?
when you put it like that, it's mad, isn't it?
Mad.
No, just the justification of that's actually normal, right?
People.
And you do it in closed rooms, or you do it at home, or you go to these things called pubs, and you drink all of that, or whatever it is you're going to imbibe. But the thought of doing, like, even just eating fruit for a day, people think you're bonkers.
Let alone hanging out and eating fruit.
Exactly. That's next level.
Can you? So the guys in the garden last night, right, in the next door's garden, they sat in the garden. There was a number of them, and they sat in the garden with beer for about, let me think, 6 hours. Now, if we were to sit in the garden and eat fruit for 6 hours, they'd think we were nutters.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to come out? Do you want to come and hang out with us and drink and eat a mango? Be like, what? No wine? No mangoes?
I want a beer.
No beer? No mangoes?
Yeah.
And hey, have you tried fermented mangoes?
No, I haven't.
Right,
tried that
there
one.
you go. With your Alfonso mangoes, man.
Okay.
Blend them, put your probiotic in, blend them up, leave them on the side over in the daytime. Oh,
Are you going to get a little bit of alcohol there? You might get a little drunk there.
Yeah.
just like the best thing. No, the alcohol takes quite a while, Phil.
Okay, so just overnight.
I've never heard of that.
Well, when I was in Thailand, you name the fruit. I mean, I tried culturing watermelons, pineapples, bananas, obviously mangoes. What else did I do? And any fruit I could find, I cultured it.
Really?
Yeah, mangoes. Mangoes were the best. Bananas were amazing, actually. Cultured bananas are phenomenal. But you get a brown. You know, bananas have that brown film on the top.
Yeah.
So they oxidize really quickly. Bananas do. But if you scrape that brown off the top, because it's like a skin, isn't it? Really, they kind of skin over like a good old fashioned rice pudding. Once you get that skin off, underneath the bananas taste like heaven. Of course, young green coconuts.
Sure. Yeah.
Culturing, young green but any fruit I had that was tasty, I thought, oh, I wonder if I can culture it. So every day I culture something different when I was in Thailand.
Wow. That's a good
Did
experiment.
you blend it up, or what did you do?
Yeah, so all the fruits, peel them, take the stones out or whatever they are, take the unedible bits out, chuck them in a blender, put a teaspoon of probiotic in, and sometimes you need to add a bit of water, but normally you don't. And then you just make like a mango pudding with culture in, and then just what I've learned to do is put them in a mason or a kiln jar with a lid on tight, so you don't get any wild ferment, and then you only get the ferment of the culture. Whereas if you leave the lid loose, which is what I was doing, you get a wild culture, and then you don't really know what you're getting in them. So I tend to do a fixed culture as opposed to a wild one.
Cool.
So we've done the mango thing then. We did that.
Loving that.
Loving the mango thing. Yeah. So
the other day, Susan, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go for it, Phil.
Now, the other day, Susan was really craving a durian, and I've had some amazing experiences with durians and some really bad ones too. But durians are definitely an experience, and they're not always good. So when you get a good durian, it's mind blowing. So Susan and I, like 2 weeks ago, we went to the Asian supermarket, and it was incredibly expensive, insanely expensive, but it was a perfect durian. Like every single bite there was no, some of them have gristle in and they kind of taste bland and this was the most perfect durian, and we were just so high afterwards. We felt so good. And there's something about a good quality durian, it like taps into the brain, the tryptophan, something, it opens up something in the brain. And I remember years ago where I was at the Tree of Life and I ate like a whole durian and I was laughing nonstop, like for 2 hours or something. It was just incredible. So I've had some good durian experiences.
Wow.
And you can ferment durian too.
I've fermented cacao. I've done cacao beans and blended them and fermented them. They're quite interesting.
What is a durian? Oh my goodness.
Who's written that?
That was Charlie.
Oh.
It's Durian, and it's called the stinky fruit. And the first time you smell it, you're like, is there a gas leak? Or is this somebody's stinky underwear or something? But eventually you're like,
died.
Something. Yeah. But eventually you're like, I mean, not for everybody, but actually for Susan, she ate it like 10 times before she liked it. She's like, oh, I don't really like this. She tried a little bit again later, and then she just was like, oh my God, my body loves this. And then once like it kicks in, like the brain goes, this is really good. But it's a little weird to start with. It's the fruit. It can be like this big, has these big spikes in it. It's in Thailand, it's banned on public transport because it smells a little bit like a sulfury gas leak kind of thing. So, and they even have like a word for death by durian when it falls from the trees or something, because it's on these trees that are so high up. So
have you guys come across the durian writer yet on Instagram?
The durian rider?
I did.
No, durian writer.
Right, not rider. Don't talk about the rider. He's
Durian writer.
Insane.
She travels all around Asia and writes about finding all these different types of durian
species
and in all the different countries.
Hi, Mom. My mom's on.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
Yeah, so she's really interesting, Phil. Yeah, that's durian writer, not durian rider.
We don't want to follow durian rider at all, ever.
No. No, I think I saw a couple of videos in the beginning and I was like, oh my God, what is going on there?
So in terms of it's a really great point about rider. It's like we in the supermarkets, we're so used to like one or two varieties, but everything has hundreds of varieties, because it's just nature, like apples or durians or mangoes. There's hundreds of varieties, or avocados. We're used to it's the Hass avocado. It's like, but there's actually hundreds of varieties of these things that we don't get to experience. from a supermarket kind of environment. But as we start to branch out, we go, oh my God, there's like, heirloom tomatoes. Each one tastes differently. Every single one it looks differently and tastes differently. But people are like, I don't like tomatoes, whatever. I don't know how to say it anymore. One of those. So, people go, oh, I don't really like them. But then they've never really experienced one like I don't know if you had them fresh off the vine. It's just like, my God, tomatoes, they're so good. So
I've got a friend of mine and
That's
he's got a market garden.
Mhm.
And he has a whole polytunnel dedicated to heirloom tomatoes.
Wow.
So I can go there in the morning. He opens at like 10 in the morning. You can go there at 10 in the morning and they've been picked off the vine that morning. And
Wow.
it's just like they're like drugs, man. They are so good.
Yeah.
But it's like the thing is now, people don't know what good food tastes like. I don't like mangoes. Well, no, I'm not surprised. I don't like avocados. I'm not surprised. I don't like bananas. I'm not surprised. It's like,
Yeah.
and the tomatoes that come from Holland that have been grown in those, what are they called? The water grown ones, the hydroponics.
Yeah.
They're just completely tasteless.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, so much of that produce as well that comes, especially here from Europe in particular, it's all grown in these artificial, well, they're not even greenhouses. I mean, most of the produce doesn't even see sunlight. It's been artificially fed. Some of it, some of it hasn't even touched the soil.
Yeah.
And then it's put into gas chambers where they ripen it, or it's ripened in transit. So you're never really getting the full benefit of any fruit or vegetable that's been grown like that. And like Phil said, it's true. There's hundreds. I went to Borough Market 20 years ago. This guy was exhibiting all the varieties of apples in the UK. And there was over 400, and he put them on this big mat on the floor.
Wow.
You can see the colours and the shapes. And I was like, wow, you're lucky if you see 3 varieties in the supermarket. And the same with the tomatoes. I've been growing or trying to learn how to grow my own food here. And all of those heirloom seeds, they're fascinating. But then
I remember the Tree of Life where they just started, like, they had it was when the garden was on the mesa up there in Arizona, and I remember them just growing all these varieties of cucumbers, and there was some that were like this big, and they were all curled over. Like it was one called Armenian cucumber, and they were just like these crazy cool stripes on them. And then there was like watermelon cucumbers that were like round, and then like lemon cucumbers that were like, they looked like a lemon, and they all had different textures. Like some of them were more watery, some were more firm. And most of them you could eat the skin. Like the modern cucumber that we get, it's like, unless it's like an English cucumber, but a lot of these cucumbers, the skin is so thick, you're just like, because it's been kind of chosen that way so that it will do well in transport. It's not really what most cucumbers are like once they're freshly picked. The skin is actually pretty soft and digestible, but these supermarket ones, it's just so tough because it's, it travels well. So
yeah, and they always look like, that's the thing, here in the UK, 12 months of the year, those cucumbers will always be the same size, same color, same texture. It's so standardized. And a lot of the particularly the fruits here in the UK, they're seedless as well.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna jump in here because I'm aware that Tim asked a question ages ago and his dinner's probably cold by now. So he said he's got aubergines, mushrooms, and spinach, quinoa, tomatoes. Tim, I hope we're not too late. Ideas to wow it up, to add anything to it. I'm presuming because he makes his dinner while he's listening to us, so I'm presuming he's made it.
So we're going on to Samato here. Chef Samato, what would you do?
Whoa, okay. What would I do to spice it up? I would add the aubergines, I'd probably roast off in the oven. I'd just dice them all up, roast them off with some coconut oil, bit of tamari, some garlic. And then, whilst you're roasting those off, probably 10 minutes before they come out the oven, add your sliced mushrooms. And whilst that's roasting off in the oven and your quinoa's cooking away, get that spinach in a bowl, or sorry, put the spinach in a bowl, add your sea salt to it and just massage it until the liquid comes out. And then once you take your aubergines and your mushroom out of the oven, just chop your tomatoes and run those through it, break up that spinach, and then add your refreshed quinoa, mix it all up, a little bit of olive oil, balsamic vinegar, boom.
Boom, shakalaka la. There you go, Tim. If you've ate it, mate, good idea for next time. But if you haven't, there. So let's say quickly he's made it. He's got a bowl full of aubergine, mushroom, spinach, quinoa, and tomatoes. What could he then do to wow it up, do you think? Not that he's asking that question, I'm just saying, is what else could he add to it, do you think? Well, I mean, I think, like you're just saying there, actually, tamari in it, if it's made already, tamari is always a winner. A bit of balsamic and a bit of tamari, actually, if you've got it, is always a winner.
Yeah.
Something else that you could chuck in there, actually, as well, is be a little bit of curry powder.
Yeah.
So your turn, Samado. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm liking that. I just said chili, a bit of fresh chili. I just top it off with.
Yeah.
Phil?
I was reading the comments. See what else people said. Yeah. Hemp seeds be nice in there.
Oh, a bit of some naked hemp. I like to call it naked hemp, but it's called whole hemp.
It needs an avocado in there. Sorry, it just needs that.
Tim, avocado. You need.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what is great is, like Samado just said, spinach, a pinch of salt, and then avocado. Skin your avocado, chuck the stone out, chuck it in a bowl, and then massage all that together, and that gives you an amazing avocado spinach dish, which will be really creamy, succulent, soft.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. It's a spinach avocado salad where you just use your hand and you massage it all in there. So spinach, avocado, tomato, hemp seeds, pinch of salt, just massage all that in, maybe a pinch of spirulina, massage it all in, best ever.
Yeah,
it takes 3 seconds to make a great, satisfying salad. So
beautiful. Yeah.
There you go. I think we've got to get in the kitchen and do a show one day, guys, haven't we?
We could talk about food for a while, couldn't we?
It's really interesting, Phil, because actually we've been doing this show now for nearly a year, and we haven't had a show on food.
Wow.
And actually, it's really interesting because we know so much about food prep, and that's the reason why I thought, Samado, getting you on here and talking about our favorite foods, talking about we've done mangoes, right? And we've shared about culturing them and things like that. And then, we've just done this meal for Tim. So hopefully that's really helped people by going through that meal. Well, okay.
Don't get distracted, Phil. Stay focused. I distract you when I post them. I'm like, he'll look at that in a minute. But
so Tim's just given us a great idea about mangoes to meet and eat. The sexiest.
I don't really know it's a sexist title. I think mangoes meet and eat. It sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's sexist about that.
No, nor do I.
No, that's good.
Anyway.
So he says that sounds amazing. That's for tomorrow. Fresh homegrown chilies.
Yeah.
Wow, mouth-watering. Need a napkin. I think
napkin.
Napkin. A napkin. Well, I was trying to figure out what that was. So, favorite food. Did you, after all that, did you do your favorite food, Samado?
He didn't.
Yeah, did he not? Okay. Yeah, so 2 things at the moment. Cashew cheese was one.
Yes.
I've been making walnut ragu. I've been making that. That's really
good. So can you just run us through walnut ragu then?
Yeah, so that is a cooked but a plant-based.
I'm sure we can make it raw.
You can make a raw version, yeah. It's because I wanted to be able to serve something that was really dense, quite heavy, because we were sharing also a lot of the people in this training, this is the first time they've ever experienced this, so we're trying to ease them in. Anyway, this walnut ragu, It's finely chopped onion, finely chopped garlic, finely chopped carrot, all organic, and that's softened in some olive oil. And then you've soaked your walnuts for 24 hours in filtered water, and then you process them up so it's like a fine crumb.
So when you're soaking your walnuts for 24 hours, do you rinse them off at all?
Yeah,
How often would you rinse them off in that 24-hour period?
every couple of hours. If I'm in the kitchen,
Yeah.
you know, when I'm
But
sleeping.
if you're not,
yeah.
you could. So in that 24-hour period, let's say you
Yeah.
put them to soak before you went to bed, you could rinse them in the morning before you went to work. Then
Yeah.
you could rinse them when you got home from work.
Yeah, no
and
problem.
then you could rinse them before you went to bed again, couldn't you? Because that would then be your 24-hour period.
Yeah.
And then stick them in the fridge, right?
Yeah. And then when you're ready to use them, you drop them into the food processor and they come up like a really fine crumb. And then what you do is you add that walnut to the onion and the garlic and the carrot, and you cook it very, very slowly with the walnut. And then you add San Marzano tomatoes with some olive oil, because I only learned a few years ago that the San Marzano tomato has high levels of lycopene in it.
Okay. Yeah.
But when sometimes they talk about some ingredients you have to heat to get
Yes.
the profile, the benefit from it. And I learned this just a few years ago. So when you heat that San Marzano tomato with the olive oil, it releases lycopene. So there's many health benefits to it, but you cook that very, very slowly with some sea salt flakes, and you just leave it cooking like they would cook a ragu in Italy until it's really, really soft.
Oh, wow.
And then you can either eat that hot as part of a like courgette linguine and put the walnut ragu through it, or you could actually just refrigerate it, remove it from the fridge and have it at room temperature with mushroom and avocado and some baby spinach leaves.
Oh, wow.
Or you could smoke aubergines and put that walnut ragu onto that. So that with microgreens and nasturtiums. And so it depends, but the walnut ragu thing I'm really playing with at the moment because it's it's very comforting. It's great brain food. And everybody that's having it at the moment, because I only developed the recipe not long ago, and everybody that's been eating it's like, oh my good God. You know, but I've got music playing in the kitchen. I'm looking out into the garden whilst I'm cutting everything up.
Oh, wow.
You know, yeah. So that's the big thing: a cashew cheese, walnut ragu.
Can you send me that recipe and I'll add it to my. We have a little recipe book. If you sign up to philandphil.com, you get a recipe book. So I could add that if you want. Yeah.
I had no idea.
You better sign up to the newsletter, Phil, and then you get a free recipe book.
I reckon I better get our own book then.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a little thing. I just threw it together. But you can.
Amazing.
I'll give you the Google Doc, and then you can add to it too. So.
Cool. Yeah. Everybody loves it. It's really good. It's really good. And I've made it so many times. So yeah, cashew cheese, the walnut ragu. I made a passion fruit custard tart the other day.
Oh, wow.
Which was real nice. Vegan, raw, and it was delicious. So I'm kind of playing around with different things. But it does feel at the moment, food-wise, coming out of that or moving into spring here in the UK, and then bringing more juices in, more colors in, more textures in. So yeah, the walnut ragu might have been with a microgreen salad, an avocado, cashew cheese and crackers, and loads of microgreens.
Well, I'll tell you what you just made me think of now.
Yeah.
To go with that would be a walnut and wild garlic pesto.
Yeah.
As we're on the walnut thing.
Funny, do you know? Yeah, it's funny you mentioned it because I went out and I got some wild garlic the other day, but I made a pesto, but not with walnuts. But that next time I'll do it with walnuts. This time I did it with naked hemp.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
What about, have you done Have you done nettle pesto?
No,
Haven't you?
no.
Oh wow! So if you just pinch the tops out the young, I mean, we're just coming to the perfect time for it now.
Right.
Pinch the tops out of the nettles and have like the first 2 or 3 leaves, and just use that instead of wild garlic, and you'll get nettle pesto, which is just heavenly. It's really earthy, and
Okay. Yeah.
it's. I mean, nettles are. I don't know if you eaten many nettles.
Not lots.
No, they're a real because they're full of iron, right? So they're really rich. So yeah, actually nettle's coming up now. So fresh nettle tea, right? You got nettle pesto. You can do nettle soup. You can do like nettle leek and potato soup. Amazing. So you just pick the tops out of the nettles. Make sure you got gloves on it, or you don't mind, because actually nettles are really good antihistamine as well. It's like
Okay.
the top thing is an antihistamine.
Beautiful.
So yeah, nettle is just, and at the moment it's abundant. Well, not quite yet. Probably we've got another 2 weeks, I should think, and then it's gonna be abundant. It's gonna be very fresh in its sting at the moment.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, nettle top pesto, nettle top soup, nettle top tea.
Liking that.
That's yeah, nettles and nettle and I mean something really English, right? Nettle and walnut pesto. 2 great ingredients.
Next time.
Next time.
Next time.
Nettle's high in silica, so it's a great bone builder too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also a blood builder, isn't it? It's a blood builder, bone builder. And get this then, right? My great granny, if the boys, my granddad and his brothers had been naughty, she used to get nettles and whack them on the back of the legs with it. Because nettle in the old tradition drives out the devil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there is I think we talked about this like a year ago. I had a
Wow.
friend that
Okay.
went to a retreat where they actually whacked them with nettles
Yeah.
because it stimulates the blood flow and it stimulates detoxification. So
Stimulates
it was actually
stimulates
a
the
therapy.
lymph.
So
It's amazing. Yeah, it's an immune therapy, and of course it's antihistamine. So your body instead of creating all the histamine, you've got an antihistamine. So it's yeah. I mean nettle. The adage for nettle actually, if you look it up, is quite amazing.
Wow. That's very cool. Thank you.
yeah, nettle
what?
stings are not that bad. Like
Talk amongst
actually,
yourself. I'm going to find something in a minute.
yeah, nettle stings are really not that bad. I don't think. They kind of I mean, and then so growing up, I was always getting stung by nettles, and I don't know where I learned it from, my grandma, but it was like rub dock leaves on the nettle sting, and it always
Yeah,
worked. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even know where that came from. Like, isn't it weird that like sometimes you're like, well, who told me that? Like, why do I know this? I'm out there playing in the woods, and I know that dock leaves you're supposed to rub them on the nettle. Like somebody obviously told me, but it's great when we tap into these things that have been passed down from
Yeah.
generations, and it's just like there is a lot of this stuff in our consciousness and we just pick it up. Like there's some really good things in our consciousness, and the more we get out of the matrix and out of the noise, we start to tap into this wisdom that's all around us, so
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true.
I'm just going to try and find if I can.
I'm just going to be back in 1 sec, guys.
oh, you're leaving now. Okay.
Yeah.
Your turn, Phil.
Are you in? Oh, okay. So one of my favorites, actually, what I like to teach is actually just seed milk. And it always blows people away. And I'm always surprised. I'm like, it's just freaking seeds and water. But it always blows me away how simple it is and how people love it. And I still love seed milk every day. So I make pumpkin seed milk, handful of seeds, Vitamix full of water, blend it, and then strain it. And my mom was saying, she probably told my mom said nettle and dock leaves grow together. So that makes sense. The antidote is usually next to the poison, right? So the solution to what we're dealing with is right outside our door usually. So
Yeah.
anyway,
and they also say as well that if you leave your garden wild, your own medicine grows once you move in.
right.
Okay,
So yeah, I was talking about seed milk as like one of my favorite things to teach actually, because it blows people away. And especially today, there's all of these freaking nut milks on the shelf. It's just like, they're so expensive, and they're usually full of carrageenan, which is inflammatory, and all sorts of other things, stabilizers. And actually, I make pumpkin seed milk, and it's really cheap, a handful of seeds. I don't even soak them. No, I mean, if I was doing almonds, I always soak those, or walnuts. But when I make pumpkin seed milk, I don't soak them. I have no problem digesting the whole pumpkin seeds. You could soak them if you want to, but I really don't think it's that essential, especially when you're making a milk. So I just make that. I squeeze it through a muslin bag or a cheesecloth or a nut milk bag or a nylon mesh or something like that. Squeeze it out, and then I've got a milk. And then I blend it in. I make a hot chocolate every day. So my morning drink, and I make it for my wife, Susan. So we have it together. And I've got the base of pumpkin seed milk, and the recipe base is in the recipe book, which you sign up for the newsletter on philandphil.com. Yep. It gives you the base recipe, but basically, like, I've got my seed milk in there, I've got cacao powder, I've got lucuma, which makes it kind of creamy, kind of makes it more of a milky chocolate, and then I got vanilla, maca, reishi. Sometimes I put chaga mushroom powder in there. I'm just like looking at my shelf right now to remind myself. Lion's mane mushroom. What else have I got in there? Let's see. Oh, I've got some turmeric. So I put turmeric in there, black pepper, and then whatever my sweetener is, maybe some honey or coconut sugar or something like that. What else? Yeah, just basically some really nice superfoods. I don't do green foods in there, obviously, because I want it like a hot chocolate, creamy hot chocolate thing. If I've got cacao butter, I put that in there. It makes it incredible. Like, it just makes it this like fatty, creamy thing. Some people like coconut oil, but Susan doesn't like coconut oil in her hot chocolate, so I don't do that. But some people like that flavor. So I blend that up 20 seconds, and then I warm it up on the stove I actually warm it to 140 degrees, and that's the perfect hot chocolate temperature, in my opinion. So, and then I hand it to Susan in the morning, and this is my morning like gift to Susan. I give her a nice steaming mug of hot chocolate in the morning, and she loves it. So that's one of my favorites. It's really simple. It's just a drink, and it's like, I know that I'm getting all these superfoods into Susan, and she's, that's Fahrenheit, correct.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
And you can throw it, just whatever superfoods you've got. I've put tinctures in there, like sometimes, and you don't even taste them. So even the bitter tinctures, like I've got this like Ron Tea Gardens things, you can just kind of slip things in there. And that's the great thing, because the main thing is the cacao powder and the sweetener. And then you kind of slip in those herbs that normally you're like, oh, I gotta take this herb, it's like bitter and it tastes weird, or I gotta drink it down. But like when you slip it into the chocolate, it becomes a delivery system of those herbs, and you just like, you can sit there and you just enjoy that morning drink, and that's like how I start my day. So, yep.
Love
Philip's hot chocolate. Yep.
So Samado, I'm gonna take us back to nettles, right? And I was just thinking about what Phil was saying actually.
Well, yeah, but doesn't it jump to that, because you could do a nettle tea as your base for your nut milk. That's
just what I was gonna say. You can add in, because the cacao would make a great delivery system for the nettle. So spring nettles from weed to medicinal herb. I'll just read you this bit, guys. A blood purification cure using stinging nettles can do a lot of good and bring about relief and healing in a great many ailments. For any healthy individual, a spring cure of nettle tea will rapidly drive springtime tiredness out of his limbs. This cure stimulates the bladder and kidneys, promotes the activity of all digestive organs, and gives the body numerous minerals and vitamins. If you take this cure in order to get on top of a physical disorder or illness, you should prepare yourself for the fact that, just as with homeopathy or any other detox cure, there might be a worsening of the symptoms for a short time after the treatment. After the treatment, pains or other symptoms become more acute, or it can even happen that the disorder can be displaced to another organ or area of the body. This is a good sign, and you should not lose heart because of it. Quite the contrary, your body is signaling that you are on the right road. That is it responding and trying to supply the disturbed zone with new strength. Stronger symptoms and pains are ultimately only a sign that the body is expending more strength in order to break through the blockage in the flow of energy to affected area, rather like growing pressure that is exerted on a dam, the more water it has to hold in. So it says, when the moon is on the wane, preferably in the afternoon between 3 and 7 p.m., drink as much nettle tea as you can, or take 3 soup spoons of nettle juice. Stop when the moon is new. Wait 14 days and repeat the cure after the next full moon until the ailment has got better or disappeared. As a cure for healthy people, 2 periods of 14 days in the waning moon is sufficient. For detoxification in cases of illness or skin disorders, 3 such periods are needed. So on it goes, but that's the stinging nettle. So there is actually a cure of stinging nettle tea.
And I think you best pick when they're young, right? So you want them young.
Yeah, very, very, very soon. And you know, and it goes on to say,
Isn't there some toxin in there if you pick them too old or something that's not so good?
well, they always said that you shouldn't pick them once they've
Gone to
seeded.
Yeah.
Once they've gone to seed, then of course you collect the nettle seeds. Because nettle seeds. So you've got nettle leaf, nettle root, nettle seeds, and nettle roots, and each one of them has a different medicine to them. So the stinging nettle should be collected when the moon is waning. Only, here we go, Phil. Only use young leaves, and dry and store them when the moon is on the wane. The plants must be washed before drying. Tip: if you want to use fresh leaves in a salad, for instance, roll them repeatedly with a rolling pin. This crushes the hollow stinging hairs so they do not sting anymore. Then it gets a bit more technical, but yeah. So
you can pick a nettle leaf with your fingers and not get stung. So underneath the leaf, there's no stingers. So you can pick it and you can roll it into your fingers. And I've done this a few times, and then you just chew it up and you don't get stung.
I've done it a few times too, Phil, and I've got stung.
What's up with you, dude?
Why, even rolling it up?
You got to roll it up properly.
I was showing someone once.
When you roll.
I was showing someone once, right, and I rolled it up, put it in my mouth. It's like, oh, you got to roll it a bit more than that, obviously.
Yeah, you kind of got to crush the things. So.
Yeah, you've got to roll it well. But yeah, Smado nettles is, especially this time of year, if you want to play around with it, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I'll look into it, because if I walk out of the cottage here, if I just walk up the road, there's like a little track that goes into the fields. I know there's loads of nettles down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the time now, because the sting will be a bit ferocious on them, but they're potent.
Cool. Thanks for that.
So Charles is asking, 12, 16. This is a direct message.
She asked earlier how to make cashew cheese. No, I just reposted it because she sent it to me directly. So.
Oh, okay.
Simona, how do you make cashew cheese?
Okay, so a really, really simple one, super simple, is I take 2 cups of cashew nuts and I soak them in filtered water for 8 hours. And then after 8 hours, wash those cashew nuts off and put those cashew nuts in the blender with probably about 1/3 of a cup of water and a very good probiotic capsule that you've emptied into the blender, and blend it on high until it's really silky and smooth, and then scrape out the contents of the blender and pour that into a ceramic bowl or a glass bowl, preferably not metal. And then you just want to use a piece of parchment paper on the top of the cheese or the cashew mixture, and then leave it in a warm space for about 8 hours or overnight. And what you'll find is in the morning, when you come to take that paper off or the cheesecloth, it'll be really fluffy, almost like sour smelling, slightly fizzy. And then what I do is I would take that cashew mixture and then put that back into the blender with some nutritional yeast and sea salt and just blend that up again until it's nice and smooth. And then you can either store that in the fridge in a jar to use on your crackers or onto your raw pizza. And that's the basic cashew cheese. I mean, you can go a bit funkier afterwards and put, you know, spirulina and all sorts of things to make like blue cheeses, and you can set them and you can roll them in herbs. But a very basic one is that 2-cup cashew mixture.
Sorry, I missed that. Did you add a probiotic or not?
Yes,
Yes,
probiotic.
yeah,
That's all right. I was watching Tim's comments.
So just to add to that, there is I actually do sell a powdered probiotic, which is really useful for making these kind of yogurts and cheeses and stuff.
That's one of the best probiotics there is that you can get over there, right?
It's probably the best. I think it's the best probiotic that you can get, or else I wouldn't be selling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you
clean?
Is it one that's in a tub with a small spoon?
Yeah.
Cool. What is it, Phil?
It's Puridyme.
Okay.
Puridyme.
Puridyme.
Puridyme Life Biotic.
Yeah. Cool. I think
I've
I've heard
great
the name
enzymes
before, but I've
too,
not
so
used it.
Yeah. Well, if you go to therawbuilder.co.uk, Samada, you can see that on my website.
Good. I will check that out.
And then you can
therawbuilder.co.uk.
Yeah.
Wicked.
And at the moment I've only got 2 tubs in stock, but I need to do another order from the States.
Okay.
I need to do.
All right, Phil, your favorite food.
Yeah, good.
Favorite recipe. Give me a recipe, not just watermelon blended and drunk in the afternoon. Which I know that's your favorite food, but
I tell you what, joking aside, at the moment my favorite food is watermelon chopped up and blended in the afternoon.
Is it?
Yeah. And either a squeeze of lime or a knob of ginger in it. And those two actually completely transform it. But the thing about watermelon, see, I am very passionate about watermelons at the moment. They are, at this moment in time, my favorite thing. So with a watermelon, the most important thing is you don't buy them round. You buy them so they're slightly oblong, and where the sit spot is on them, that's kind of a bit of a browny yellowy color, that needs to be golden. So I go through every single watermelon in the shop to find the golden spot, and the more golden and the bigger it is, the redder, the more solid and the sweeter that watermelon's going to be. And it's just so different from going in and buying a watermelon, because you get them home, you don't know what you're getting. You know, I used to tap them to make sure that they were ready and they sounded a bit hollow, but actually forget tapping. The golden spot is the sweet spot, and that is the secret of watermelons. So that is definitely
that's done. That's Phil right there. There you go.
That's mine, and I drink a litre of that every afternoon with either a squeeze of lime or a knob of ginger. My other favourite one, of course, is fermented mangoes, when I can get good mangoes. Another food that I love actually is like your cashew cheese, but I like making cashew yogurt.
Nice.
Exactly the same as you're doing, but I do it thinner.
Lovely.
That's all.
Yeah.
And then I use that to pour on things, so you can make like a fruit salad with a cultured yogurt on it.
Yeah.
It's also great if you make if you make like a cashew or a hemp yogurt's really good. If you make like a hemp yogurt and then so sometimes what I do is I make a hemp. Well, I was doing, now I'm doing all fruit smoothies. I don't, but what I was doing was making some of the yogurt. It will keep in depending. Hemp yogurt only keeps for about 3 days, whereas cashew yogurt will probably last a week. Young green coconut yogurt or cheese, it will last at least 30 days. Young green coconut, and after 30 days it becomes medicine. It's a whole different ball game. And I always do, like I said to you before, I do a controlled ferment. I don't do a wild one, so I always do mine with the lid screwed on tight.
Yeah. So
then I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm getting what's in there. And And then, so what you can do, if you then want to make like a bigger smoothie, is you get maybe like half a cup or a cup. So like, let's say 3 or 4 tablespoons of the yogurt and put it in your smoothie. Make your smoothie up and then leave that. So if you're going to have it for lunch, make it up at breakfast time, the smoothie, and then you've got a whole cultured smoothie. And then so all of a sudden you've turned like 1 or 2 tablespoons of probiotic into a whole liter or 2 liters of probiotic drink. And that's, that's amazing. My favorite recipe.
It got me thinking. Yeah. It's funny when people talk about food, I'm kind of thinking, oh yeah, I could use a bit of that, and do that and do that, and
absolutely.
Yeah. You reminded me of something that we used to serve in Excalibur, which is this plant-based restaurant, Phil, here in Glastonbury, and one of the drinks was it was called the pine pollen smoothie. So it was coconut milk with almond milk and pine pollen. And just when you were talking about culturing, fermenting the young Thai coconut, because we used to use the young Thai coconuts there to make our own milk.
Oh wow!
But if you kind of cultured that, with some almond milk and pine pollen in there as well, oh my God, that would be.
Well,
be amazing.
I quite often do cultured coconut and almond yogurt together.
Oh yeah.
But the thing I found with almonds is cultured almonds, they get a pink film on them, and then you got to throw it away. And sometimes that
because when almonds, one of the guys because we used to have to make liters and liters of this stuff every morning, and the almonds we were getting were really high quality organic, but somehow if you had 20 almonds, you might have one that's really bitter.
Yep.
And you don't know that until you've actually made the milk.
Okay.
So that can send the milk a bit funky sometimes. But then I'd also heard that there's something in almond that lies just beneath the surface of the skin.
But it makes sense.
It begins with the A, which sometimes discolors anything that you make with almond.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if I've made fermented almond cheesecakes, sometimes there might be like a pinky grey hue.
Yep.
On the top.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, I was told to throw that away.
You just soak them with a little peroxide to begin with, in case it's like bacteria and stuff.
Yeah, I've done peroxide. That doesn't do it.
Doesn't do it. So there's some
But I've been taught that it's not good and it's some funky like yeast. Yeah. But I don't know, and how do you know?
Right.
Yeah. Without getting it tested.
Well, like the pink coconuts. Some people say that the pink coconuts is more antioxidants, and other people say it's bad.
Yeah, I know.
What is it?
It's a job. Yeah. It's a job to know. So I think, favorite recipe.
So I'm getting a download here. Just a second, Phil. We're gonna have to do a class, guys. We're gonna have to do a conscious eating. So at Tree of Life, we had a class called Conscious Eating. It was a week-long class.
Yeah.
We have to do it. I mean, this is just genius. What's coming through here? Just the flow. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
So we need to set up a conscious eating workshop over a series of weekends, like you've been doing, but Phil and Phil style. And maybe we'll be in the kitchen. We'll do some knife skills. We'll do all that stuff. I think we have to set it up. And I'm going to start. If you're willing, Tomato and Phil.
Yeah.
I think it has to, because the synergy here is amazing. We're talking about food and we're playing, we're having fun, and I think it can inspire a lot of people. So
cool, loving that.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely, Phil.
The downloads are coming.
So my favorite, it's been such a long time actually since I've kind of properly eaten food and played in the kitchen.
Didn't you make something just the other day, Phil, for your friends, like your neighbors? Some friends came.
I went to chef for Dwena Gibb. Do you know Dwena Gibb, Tomato?
It's a small world. It's a very small world. With all of this cleaning up, I've had all these memories of things coming back, and I was working with a guy who was the agent of Dwena Gibb's ex-husband. Well, not, I don't think he's ex-husband.
No, he's deceased.
Yeah, I just wanted to check that before I said that. Yeah, he's deceased. So he was the agent, and he was going to introduce me to Dwena Gibb, to do some dinners. This
Oh,
was
wow.
going back this is going back a few years, so I'm really having to dig deep. I think about 3 years I met this agent in London, and he spoke of Doina Give,
So
Yeah.
do you know that Nicola's their personal chef?
No.
She's been chefing for them for 20 years.
Are they in Sussex?
No, they are in Tame.
Ah, okay. So it's such a small world, isn't it?
Such a small world. So I'm going again tomorrow to do some inspiring and encouraging.
What did you make for them?
Cool.
What
What
yeah.
what you made?
So, actually, one of my favourite recipes, you've got it now, Phil, is, I think it's amazing, is raw pizzas.
Yeah.
Little raw pizzas or big. I mean, I did one the other day that was kind of about that long and probably about that wide, and I set it out. I set it out as a slim pizza, and then topped it all out and cut it all into little squares, and then finished it off with alfalfa grass on the top.
Nice.
And of course that went, and I ate that actually, and yeah, I think raw pizza is probably one of my favorites. It's probably one of my favorite party tricks because actually it's simple, everyone can relate to it, and they taste fantastic. And the other one is spiralized courgette, spiralized courgettes with either a wild garlic or a wild nettle and some kind of nut pesto, or a homemade oh, there it is, Phil. Yeah,
Hey.
that's before I cut it up.
Getting hungry.
Can you go through again, Phil? Is there what there? There you go.
Nice.
Well done, Phil. That's brilliant. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what I was giving them some samples. So I was in the kitchen playing with Nicola, and
What was the crust? How did you make the crust? Because there's some awful crusts and there's some great crusts. So
I love that crust actually. That's a buckwheat, pumpkin, sunflower, and then I use ground flax or linseeds to dry it out a bit. And then that one was quite thin because, of course, I made it in the morning and we had to eat it at lunchtime, so I didn't have very long to put it in the dryer for. So yeah, I think courgette pasta, spiral courgette is probably another great little party thing because it's really simple. You know, if people want cheap food, actually, you know, you can spiralize one courgette. You can go and pick some nettles or some wild garlic. You can get some walnuts that you've soaked overnight or for 24 hours. Chuck it in a food processor, whiz it round, pinch of salt, put in either your wild garlic or your nettles, a bit of olive oil, boom.
Yeah.
Amazing. Simple. You know, that's simple ingredients to make gourmet food, right? That's what we need to do. So yeah, that's so spiral courgette and some kind of a pesto or an heirloom tomato sauce when you can get heirloom tomatoes in kind of July, August, probably July, August, September. They make amazing. And what I do with that tomato is, because with the heirloom tomatoes, quite often they're too wet.
Yeah.
So I chuck in a handful of sunflower seeds. And what I found with sunflower seeds is they're not overly flavored. So you can get away, especially if they've been ground, if they've been soaked, sprouted and dried, and then grind them up. They soak up lots of water and out of the tomato. So you get that amazing tomato flavor, which isn't interfered with by the tomatoes. And then I use that as the thickener in the tomato sauce with a few sun-dried tomatoes in it.
Lovely.
And then you get that nice heirloom tomato. Look at those. Oh, Phil, you're making me salivate, man. I would say you're making me feel hungry, but you're not making me feel hungry, because actually I've had a smoothie not long ago, which was great. But I'm salivating because those tomatoes are the bomb, man.
Aren't they?
yeah.
They are amazing.
Now that's, if you're not eating that type of tomato, you're not eating tomatoes, by the way. You're eating some tomato-like substance food thing that you think is a tomato, and it just is not a tomato.
I'm hoping, and I've got 3 heirloom varieties seeds in the greenhouse at the moment. I'm just praying that they're all going to start sprouting.
Oh, wow.
Because they were really incredible. I saved the seeds from last year. Because it's like you say, when you have that tomato and it's come straight off the vine, it's still warm, and it's still got, I even had an essential oil that someone created. Oh God, I'm probably going back 15 years. And they made this essential oil, and it smelled like the leaf of the tomato in the sunshine.
Oh, wow.
And it brought back that memory of taking, and that was an essential oil, and taking that tomato off the vine. Because when you're eating, it's like you really don't need to do much with the food when it's so simple.
Yeah.
You know, nature's provided everything. You have that, you know, that tomato, some sea salt, you know, really good olive oil.
One of my favorite right there is like a fresh heirloom tomato with some basil leaf, and just eat it right there in the sun. It's so good. It's like a meal right there, and you can just keep eating that. And they grow well together, like companion planting right there.
So the other thing as well, just to add in there with what you've both just talked about being simple, is you're satiated so much quicker if you can have 1, 2, or 3 ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
The satiation's so much quicker, and you need so much less food.
Yeah.
When you start mixing all this stuff up and making all these massive meals, you have to eat so much to actually feel good. And you know, the thing I found, you know, you get watermelon, you get mangoes, you get any single thing on its own, even a really nice crisp romaine lettuce. You just eat that on its own with nothing else. You're satiated really quickly. But as soon as you start sticking other things with it, you need so much.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, let's just keep it really, really simple, because it is about the ingredients first and foremost, because that's what make or breaks the dish.
Yeah.
You know, because you can break it by making it a really complicated recipe, many different cooking styles, but the most simple, with respect, there's a different frequency you're consuming then. It's
you're
magical.
absolutely right, Samado. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm really, really passionate when it, you know, when you get those moments where you feel really in alignment with that produce, you know, it really is a gift that we've been given when we can pick that fruit or pick that vegetable, and when we get to work in it in that way. There's so much reverence is the word I was going to use.
That was the word that came to me. As you said, the word you said before, reverence, just popped in, and it's just like, yes.
Yeah. It's
so much reverence. So as you were talking, Samado, something that popped into me, which is really great and simple, is little cos lettuce leaf boats, and make like a walnut taco mix, and stick in your little boats with those fresh heirloom tomatoes. It doesn't get better than that. People think it gets better. It doesn't get better than that.
but you know what popped into my head when you first said that? I had a flashback to the 1970s. You know, the prawn cocktails.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, that was the sign of going out for a posh dinner, because you'd have a prawn cocktail served in lettuce.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, now we have walnut taco meat served in a lettuce.
You know, and you can do it. The walnut taco meat, one of those little gems, that'd be sexy. And then how about some like nacho cheese sauce over the top of that? Maybe cashew nuts and smoked paprika.
Yeah.
Butternut squash, you know.
Yeah, and again, you just reminded me when I was doing an event for some friends of mine a couple of years ago. I made what did you just say then? Nachos. I made raw dehydrated nacho crisps, and they were like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
It's just so, and I even cut them. I cut trays of them. I made a bucket full about that big and about that round. of these nacho chips, and I even cut every single one by hand into triangles while it was drying on the sheet. And that recipe, you know, it's really simple. It's just flax or linseed. They're both the same, guys, by the way, just flax in the US and linseeds in the UK. And I use frozen organic sweet corn from Waitrose, and of roughly equal parts. Blend them up with some water to make a paste, and then pour that over your Teflex sheet and level it all out. Whack it in the dehydrator, and then what I did when that was dry on the top, and I turned it over and pulled the sheet off, you can see the makeup of the tray underneath, which is all diamonds, and I just cut down those diamonds with a spatula and just made, and they were easy. Just and the paprika, when you've got that recipe, so half of it you can do plain salted, the other half you can do with paprika, smoked paprika, and man, they are just it's interesting, isn't it? That's really got my passion of chefing going again tonight. It's been a great conversation, because it's just like, actually, man, that really lights me up.
Yeah.
You know, making food of that quality with people like yourselves, it's not like, I wouldn't want to be on a conveyor belt churning it out, because then it's dead food, right? You've got to be in that environment where you're with people that love what they're doing, you know, like we're doing now, bouncing off of each other, sharing ideas. That's where it's at. That's where you get the best food ever.
Yeah.
Is in that environment when you're just getting excited like kids and playing in the kitchen. That's where the magic happens. That's where recipes you just download recipes. It's like, where did that come from?
Yeah. That's food. That's really what it is.
That's food. Yeah, you're right. That's food.
Yeah.
What a great show, guys.
Yep.
Loving that.
So yeah, so even though I did my best to keep that focus on that one particular thing, I mean, it took us in all directions, didn't it?
Yeah.
I can see a Saturday morning show coming up.
Yeah. No, it's great. I love it. I'm
just hanging out in the kitchen, chattering about all sorts of stuff and food. I mean, it doesn't actually, do you know, it doesn't really get much better than that, does it?
Doesn't.
Keep it simple.
Great. All right. Well, it's probably a good time in the show. We've been about an hour and 45 minutes, I think. So really nice show.
Cool.
That went so fast. It was just like, boom.
Yeah.
I know.
Amazing.
Such fun, Samado. Thank you so much.
We need to have you on at least once a month, Samado. That's for sure. And then maybe do an extended class, but we need you on once a month.
Cool.
Kind of lightens our spirits and brings a lot of love. So.
Likewise. Likewise. No, it's lovely. It's lovely being on the show. So much fun. And it's just nice to feel that heart connection and to be able to get it all out. It's good. Thank you.
There's so much. I mean, it's really interesting because we've spent, I think it's an hour and a half, and actually it feels like, on another level, it feels like 5 minutes. But on another level, it feels like we've covered a lot of ground. Do you know what I mean? Right. So we've done 5 minutes and a lot of ground all at the same time. So Samado, as always, my friend, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show and just, to hang out with you. It's just such a pleasure.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be invited. Thank you.
Well, we're gonna do it again, and I think with the three of us, it's really good to keep ours food centered.
Yeah.
Because
we were kind of going off, but the great thing was when we were going off down the track, it was like, whoa, we need to bring it back.
Yeah. And that's what it's about, though, isn't it? It's about letting those memories and those triggers just go, and then just as long as we, get the reins in and
rein it back in. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's been amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it has. I've loved it. Really cool. Yeah.
And it's definitely lifted my spirits, my friend. So thank you very much for that. And I hope whoever's watching, it's lifted your spirits as well. I've hoped you've gained, we've had real fun on this show, bringing this to you. So I hope it's added value to your life. I hope there's stuff that you can take away from it. If you're interested in working with any of us or all of us, drop us a line, let us know, because you know this is where magic happens.
This is
Amanda,
it.
what's your website again? Remind
Oh.
us.
It's samadosibley.com.
Okay,
That's my one.
great. And then are you going to be doing another 6-week thing after this one you've done to people can sign up to?
Yeah, I've got 2 coming up. The next 6-week training is on May the 8th.
Okay.
That runs for 6 weeks. And then there's another one happening over the summer solstice.
Oh, wow.
It starts at the summer solstice, which is the detox event with the breath work. I'm working with a woman called Integrative Breath. She's really cool. Yeah. Thank you for that, Phil.
Great.
Cool.
Well, I'm Phil.
And I'm Phil.
And this has been another fabulous episode of the Phil and Phil Show. You can check us out, philandphil.com. Make us a generous donation for our work so we can just keep doing this and keep sharing information and keep growing and evolving. So
Wicked.
I want to put a big shout out for our dedicated viewers. We've got a few dedicated
we've
viewers.
got Tim, Charlie, Wendy's on YouTube this week.
Wendy's
That's
on
why she's
YouTube.
not. Yeah, so she
Cool.
is watching and she's like, I'm on YouTube.
Annie, my friend, she's watched nearly every single show. She's not on tonight, but she'll catch up. So yeah, big shout out to the people that are following us regularly.
And my mom, of course, she watches every show.
And
so.
Patricia. Fab, thank you guys. Really appreciate all your support and your love. And let us know, if there's certain foods you want to learn about, talk about, if you want a little bit more on culturing or seed milk. Actually, seed milks blew me away when I first learned them, because I couldn't get my head around how simple they were. So simple, I couldn't figure it out.
Right, exactly.
Love them.
Amazing.
Samaldo, thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a beautiful
Thanks a
week.
lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.